Coming to you live from our studio here at Adesanwe Kanda in Accra. Coming up this evening, lack of transport for commuters, especially in the capital city, continues to bite hard as hundreds of passengers are left stranded in their quest to catch up with buses to their various destinations. We have details for you coming up. Also, President John Dramani Mahama constitutes a 12-member advisory group on the economy to provide strategic guidance on Ghana's economic recovery and long-term growth. We find out how different this will be in terms of their work. And later on, the Education Minister Martin Asiedu-Dartey directs NACA to ensure there is no ambiguity in the biological definition of gender in the educational curriculum. We'll delve deeper into all of these subjects and more within the next 1 hour and bring you business as well as sports at the tail end of the program. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Let's bring you the news summaries now.
As you would know, a district court has granted bail to self-styled doomsday prophet Ebo Noah in the sum of 100,000 Ghana cedis with two sureties, one of whom must be justified with verifiable security. The bail conditions require that one surety provide tangible collateral in the form of a landed property or a vehicle to guarantee the accused appearance in court. The case has therefore been adjourned to March 18, 2026 for further hearing. This decision was welcomed by the legal team of the accused. While speaking to journalists, the counsel for Ebo Noah, Emmanuel Savo, described the court's decision as fair and in accordance with the law. President John Dramani Mahama has announced the establishment of a 12-member presidential advisory group on the economy, which shall serve as a high-level advisory body to the president. In a statement issued by the Minister for Government Communications, Felix Kwachiofosu, well, it said the advisory group was set up in furtherance of government's commitment to restoring macroeconomic stability, strengthening fiscal sustainability, and accelerating inclusive and job-rich economic growth, anchored on the implementation of the 24-hour economy, the accelerated export development program, and the broader reset agenda. Away from all of that, Education Minister Martin Asiedu-Dartey has clarified government's stance on the definition of sex, clearly stating it must only refer to a person's biological sex and the sex of a person at birth. The minister declared that the two must be no confusion in the definition of sex in Ghana's educational system. The minister made the clarification during a teachers' training workshop on Ghanaian Youth Handbook and the implementation of the guidance and counseling framework at Ghana Senior High School in Tamale. Lastly, as part of Ghana's preparation toward achieving universal health coverage, the Minister for Health, Kwabena Mintah Kando, has directed the Pharmacy Council to change how pharmacy licenses are awarded from distance-based to population-based criteria. Speaking at a two-day expanded stakeholders retreat, the minister said the old system, which focused on how close pharmacies are to each other, no longer serves the country's health needs. Instead, licensing should reflect population size to ensure fair access to medicines, especially in underserved communities. And you can do well, again, to check our website, 3news.com. Martin, over to you.
Thank you very much. Let's do details now. And like we indicated, we are streaming also on our website, 3news.com. We are on Facebook as well as YouTube. So do send us your messages. I'll be happy to share it with the rest of the world. Now, the big one that many of you have been talking about has to do with transport, and the lack of transport for commuters, especially in the capital city, continues to bite hard as hundreds of passengers are left stranded in their quest to catch buses to their various destinations. This has become a regular feature at many bus stations. In the last few days, attention has shifted to the state transport operator, the Metro Mass Transit Limited, which unfortunately is bedeviled with challenges. The company is currently operating with its lowest bus fleet, as more than 400 buses have broken down. Many of the faulty buses are beyond repair, while those that can be fixed, the spare parts are not readily available within the sub-region. My colleague Armstrong Gold Alogbe sat with the Deputy Managing Director in charge of operations at the Metro Mass Transit Limited, Harun Apau Redu, and has come through with this report as part of their conversations which they had.
This is the Metro Mass Transit Limited head office, and as part of our Transport Challenges campaign, we visited this place to find out exactly what the issues are. Where I stand is the head office, and we are told some of these buses will be moving very soon to Kaswa Enclave, and many of them will also be going towards Denta and other parts. We are fortunate to have here with us the Deputy MD in charge of operation, Haruna Redu, joining us to give us some further explanation on what exactly it is. Explain to us, what exactly is a challenge? You are told about 400 of your vehicles are not functional. How did you get here?
Thank you very much. Like you rightly pointed out, let me take our viewers a bit into some historical account of where we are. As you are aware, Metro Mass was birthed out of then defunct Omnibus Service Authority, as we put it, OSA. By 2003, under the elsewhere Kufuor administration, through an act of parliament, Metro Mass was established. When Metro Mass was established, President Kufuor began with about 500 buses. Then Mills Mahama, spanning from 2009 to 2016, augmented our fleet level with additional 500 buses, summing up to about 1,000 buses as of 2016. When the NDC exited power in 2016, at 2017, when the MPP administration took over the reins of power, at Metro Mass, they put about 400 buses on scraps. Then, 2 months into the elections, specifically October 2024, additional 313 buses, 313 buses, were also put on scraps, sold to some individuals allegedly associated with the previous management or administration. Unfortunately, from the sale of the 300 buses, we were told that then management realized a paltry 2.9 million out of the sale of 313 buses. Currently, we are routing averagely about 115 buses across Ghana. We have 90 buses at various levels of repairs. We have close to about 197 buses, specifically 197 buses declared by the technicians or the technical department as unserviceable. So that is the sorry state of Metro Mass.
How many of them which are unserviceable? How many?
Currently, we have about 197 buses declared by the technical department as unserviceable.
So what do you do with them?
Well, as it stands now, per the law, Board of Survey has been put together. They've come around the country, submitted their reports, which will be taken to the next level for consideration. And the sorry state of it was that you realize that previously, poor maintenance culture, lack of proper supervision, occasioned the movement which has resulted in the kind of, wastage that has, bedeviled our company. Unfortunately, the previous administration also embarked on getting or retooling the company with those buses you see there, the Dawu buses. And these buses are the nightmare of the company. Unfortunately, those buses were procured by the previous administration. These buses came without a single spinner, without a single boot, no spare parts. And it is very difficult to get good spare parts, fit for purpose spare parts to fix those buses. So whenever any of those buses are parked, it is not that we don't have the means to buy the spare parts, but how to get those spare parts is a problem. The whole of Carnation, the whole of Ghana, the whole of sub-region, nobody has this type of spare parts for these particular machines or buses. So there are only 2 vendors currently, working with us, and those vendors will have to take the spoiled or broken down parts, put it inside their bags or luggage, secure some visas, go to Korea in the name of trying to secure fit for purpose spare parts, which will be fit enough to bring those buses on the stream.
If not, we cannot have these buses working.
We cannot.
So far, how many of them are not functional?
The previous administration procured 50 of them. As we speak, about more than 25 of them are packed. And that's the sorry state. So the only game changer, the only life wire of Metro Mass today is the VDL buses, which is currently the DAF buses, which is currently sustaining the company.
We are told about 10 of them were brought in.
No, those are the EV buses. The EV buses are the electric buses. And those electric buses, as you are aware already, 10 days to the elections, Ghanaians were made to believe, then candidate Baumia, former vice president, told Ghanaians that they procured EV buses, 100 pieces. Unfortunately, only for us to come and meet that the government then only paid for 10 buses. And those are the 10 buses that we are using in Accra. And as it stands now, the 90 buses, the contract is still hovering around the neck of government of Ghana.
And that's a conversation that my colleague Joseph Gold Armstrong Alogbe had with the Deputy Managing Director in charge of the operations at the Metro Mass Transit Limited, Harun Apau Redu. And it clearly tells how challenging the company is. And over the last few years, they actually have been struggling to ensure that commuters are able to get their vehicles to be ferried to their various destinations. And that is why it looks as though they are hurriedly trying to fix the buses that are broken down, as many as they could, to get them back on the road, to ensure that passengers and road users are able to, or people who are moving from one destination to the other, are able to move around a lot easily. And this information, or this conversation, has come up again as a result of recent long queues that we are seeing at the various bus terminals. And the question remains, how did we get here? At what point did all of the public transport just disappear? Or is it that the same buses and private vehicles on the road are there, but the population has all of a sudden increased over the last few weeks? That's what we're trying to seek answers to here on Hot Edition 92.7 is the station. Meanwhile, 3FM is learning that the Metro Mass Transit Limited has announced that it has reduced some of its intercity services to free up buses for intra-city operations in Accra as part of efforts to ease the recent transport challenges in the capital. So what this simply means is that vehicles that ordinarily would have moved from, say, Accra to Kumasi, Accra to Takoradi, Accra to Tamale, the long-distance journeys, which is the intercity services, Metro Mass has decided that those buses that undertake these journeys are rather now going to be doing intra-city, which means that they are all going to now be serving inside Accra alone. More or less, they are now going to be moving, for instance, from Circle to Medina, Circle to La Paz, Circle to Tema, etc., just within the capital city to ease the
most of
pressure
them are
that we are seeing at the various bus terminals or trotro stations, as we call them in the local parlance. This decision, we understand, followed directives from the Minister for Transport, Joseph Bukari Nikpe, for the company to support private transport operators during peak hours. So we'll see what these, in the last few days, this has been quite challenging, and hundreds of another company that we also know has been operating transport service, that is the Ayalolo. Many of you have seen it. They are the green buses with Ayalolo written on it. Hundreds of Ayalolo buses have been grounded for years without maintenance, while passengers continue to bear the brunt of vehicle scarcity in the capital. Currently, only 80 out of 245 Ayalolo buses procured in 2016 are operating. Christian Yali visited one of the terminals and has come through with this report.
We are coming to you live from Medina. Some have their windscreens completely broken. Others are literally sitting on the ground. Many do not have seats in them, as hundreds of the Ayalolo buses continue to rot away in a yard at the Achimota News Station. Many of these buses were never operated, but have been left under the mercy of the weather for nearly a decade. It remains a pity, as government now makes efforts to service Metro Mass buses or even procure new ones for public transportation. I'm sure that this is one of the transport minister would take a keen interest in if we are looking at bringing more buses, especially the agreements that we know has been signed to bring in about 100 of the EV buses, the electric buses, and even the current arrangement with Metro Mass to get more of their buses coming into town to transport people. But you see a lot of them here. See, these ones, all their tires have been, the tires have been removed. Let me show you just another of the bus with the windscreens and everything torn apart. Nothing to write home about. Even if you decide to maintain, it would cost you a lot. Grounded, no attention paid to them. Is it that we have forgotten about them, or what is the situation? I visited the Medina Zongo Junction Thursday, and as it has frequently been, hundreds of people endure long queues every morning, standing for hours. It is a severe punishment for these workers and even students. Accra, for how long have you been here?
1.5 hours. 1.5 hour.
1.5 hour you've been standing here to get a car?
Yeah. Cars no drew her. Now, for passengers now. When we just can't maneuver, fair night, I say, and so you into petrol.
When you get to school late, are you punished?
Yes, please.
What kind of punishment do you receive when you get to school late?
We wait. They give us a plot of land to wait. They have to bring more buses, the electric buses, so that we can get to school early on time and have a good lesson.
It's not always that you get it early. Yeah. So we are suffering. The government have to help us with the bus.
We are used to it now. So you don't know, we always come here and stand here to get cars, so we are just used to it.
Yeah, na mo di nua e hwehwe cars ni mu ni ade na mo move ni ade.
Enya no kura wan so ba obi an okitadua.
Se bia afi na mo asesa.
No, yes.
Person na mo nyesa.
Enya sa na eti kura no no.
Mba me hu bi da o.
Oh,
na me te how.
Oh, we bia na enya yen time we.
People have to run in this fashion so that they are able to secure a spot or they're able to secure a space in the buses. That is the real story. That is the real situation. That is what we are talking about. How troubling our public transport system has been over the period, has been over the years, and how successive governments have not been able to deal with this situation.
I take you back to this yard where an unfortunate story is told. The Transport Ministry says it is working around the clock to salvage the situation, but it appears some of the Ayalolo buses earlier procured with the taxpayers' money might just become a waste.
And so you heard Christian Yali putting that report together. He has been to a number of bus terminals trying to gauge the current happenings, which has led to long winding queues and commuters struggling to get public transport to their various places of work and school. And so let's find out what exactly is the bane of this problem. How did we get here? Joining us now is Dr. Godfred Asiedu-Dartey, who is a road safety and transport expert. Doc, good evening. Thank you for your time and for joining us on 3FM.
Yeah, good evening. But the voice, I can't hear it. It's very, very low.
It's faint. Okay, I'll try to see if I can speak up so you can hear me. Is it better now?
Yes. Yes, it's better now.
Great. So my first question is, have you been able to analyze what exactly is causing this shortage in public buses on our roads? All of a sudden, just after Christmas, we see more people than vehicles that would have been conveying them. What is your analysis of what the problem currently is?
Yes. Good evening to your cherished listeners. This problem started somewhere, and it was so bad before the Xmas and within the Xmas. And within the Xmas, government introduced the metro, the STC buses to come and help the situation. I told them that these temporary measures will not solve the problem. I said it on TV, I said it on radio. We should try to identify the problem and provide a permanent solution to it. Why should it be down? This problem was not there. Previously, we find these problems only, we see that when there's a hike in petrol price. People talk about hike in petrol prices and drivers charging exorbitant fares and trying to do short distances for long distances to get more money and all that. Now, it has changed completely. For me, transport owners said, no, we don't want to use our buses. You should find out what it is. We should conduct real research into the driver's perspective and see what is the problem. Nobody is doing that now. All that we are doing is speculation.
And so they are just almost...
But as an expert, I'll try to dive deeper. You see, this is a clear warning. I'm not talking about NDC, but governance, Ghana government, that it's a high time they prioritize commuter transportation system and make it more effective. And with President Mahama trying to do everything to do away with corruption, this time round, they come and start working with these strategies he's adopting. People can do the right thing, and corruption and thievery will come to an end so that we can have an efficient and effective transportation system, as it is done in almost all both civilized and uncivilized countries. What is it? We need to provide. Some years back, the NDC government saw the need and introduced the Ayalolo buses. But before the President Kufuor and other people have introduced other means of transport. It is that all of them have found out that the public transportation system should be addressed and should be managed by government itself. But it's because corruption was endemic. That's why they all left it like that. Revisit that drawing board. And then with a kind of, I don't know, we have only the 250 buses. It is woefully inadequate in Accra for Accra population of about 8 million people. And talking about 250 buses, what are you talking about?
Doc.
So we should...
Sorry for coming in, but I just want to get some understanding of what you're saying. Are you saying that the introduction during the Christmas period of these buses from government side to help the problem that was then, quite dire is why we are experiencing the current challenges?
Yes, because the private commercial entities have found that the way things are going, they are not getting much profit. I'm telling you one. Two,
okay.
We are also seeing that with the introduction of Okada system, what is happening is that people prefer using the Okada, though it is a high risk mobility means, but they prefer using it because of its safety nature and it's able to avoid traffic because they disrespect and disregard road regulations. So people, if you have introduced Okada and you are making it even more legal for them to operate, that means that if I have a private bus or something, I'll pack it. Because I will not be getting the people as I used to get. So now, that is that secret thing that people have not noticed. People, and Okada is charges way higher than the normal means of transport. So now that the government has given them the leeway, you will see that it will kill almost taxis, it will kill truck vehicles and all that. But the motoring public, the commercial motoring public, which is, are silent.
Okay.
They have pain. They are silent. They are not talking about the price hikes. They are not talking because the price hikes, the government has managed it so well. But they are embittered, trying to bring things that are not good to come and take over their jobs. So they will park their vehicles.
Okay.
It is not about petrol.
Okay,
Yes.
So it is, so what I want us to do from your perspective as the expert and as a journalist, just trying to understand what must have caused the problem, is asking some of the critical questions on the minds of many Ghanaians that out of the blue, it looks like all the buses have either disappeared or the population has increased all of a sudden. But from what you're saying, there are underlying problems that government needs to pay attention to, which includes the introduction of some of these buses and other means of transport for commuters like the Okada, etc. That's one or part of the problem.
Yes.
And then the owners of these private vehicles decided to park it because they are not making as much profit as they used to. That's another point you make.
Yeah.
But how so? If you move maybe Circle to Medina or Circle to Tema, and then the amount of money you charge, that hasn't changed. Is it that now because there are more buses or more vehicles on the way, you wouldn't be able to go as many trips as you ordinarily would have had?
That's a possibility.
Okay.
That's a possibility. So the government should take ownership of public transportation system and try to go by the principles which they brought into the policies of the Ayalolo buses. The Ayalolo buses was a perfect solution to intercity or that intracity transport commutation. And the fact is that the government was not having the political will to break down the buildings on the roadside so that they can create a goodwill for it. So they have sidelined the Ayalolo, which was a good thing that the NDC started. And then people started some time during the comfort time. So we should visit the drawing board. And then I'm telling you, commercial vehicles are also saying that the crisscrossing of motorbikes on the road makes it dangerous to drive.
But Doc, you would also agree that the Okada actually complements the effort of this private car owners or public transport in general. Okada has been accepted, so Okada is even isn't a government introduction. It was there, and the government, realizing how the population is using it, has decided to rather regularize it. Is that a bad move, you think?
Okada started coming illegally, and no other government fears to talk about it. So they grow their wings. And commercial vehicles being wise in their own senses, so that if no government is talking about Okada, then Okada is going to take over our transport, commercial transport businesses. So why don't I find something else to do? Why don't I pack my bus? If I can sell my bus, why don't I sell it and find other jobs to do? I sell the bus, I get a capital, and use it to do something else, and leave the transport business. So let Okada take it over.
Okay.
So it started from far. But people did not notice that as we were talking on TV and radio, nobody was listening to us. And now that is the problem.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean the population has increased. We are 8 million. What are you talking about 8 million compared even Lagos, where they don't use Okada, but they have effective transport system?
Okay.
Look at New York City. Just mention them. They have effective transport system, and you will see this type of thing. Somebody can even look. I was telling these people, the government should make it such a way that commercial vehicles can register with various communities and various organizations and enterprises, so that they pick their buses from their competitors.
Okay.
When you do that, you see that people will not come with TV, adding for TV3, media general. If you can't buy buses for your...
Unfortunately, we seem to have lost Dr. Godfred Asiedu-Dartey, who is a road safety and transport expert. He has brought a totally different perspective to this conversation, where he believes that the issues of even the introduction of Okada is not the right step for public transport. But, I was making the argument that it is the government actually has no hand in the proliferation of Okada businesses in the country, and that government has actually have had to catch up with the growth of the Okada business and quickly try to put order in place to regularize the operations of Okada. But the conversation we are having is bigger than just introduction of Okada or the use of motorbikes as public transport. It is that people who use public transport all of a sudden are not getting the buses to sit in, and then also when they get to the stations, there are long winding queues as a result of the absence of the buses. Government attempted to intervene during the Christmas period, and during the Christmas period, it was expected that many more people will come to the capital city, Accra, for various reasons. Some to come and purchase items and go back to the various regions they're coming from, and others just to move around and see what's happening in town. So road use activities increased. However, we now have a problem. So after government intervened by bringing in those buses, it looks as though the private owners of these buses have actually also decided to advise themselves, which is one of the reasons that we are seeing what we are seeing. Fortunately, we have Dr. Godfred Asiedu-Dartey joining us again, and we are wrapping our conversation, Doc. Two final questions. Yeah. One would be that you are saying there should be a public-private partnership. Government should take charge of public transport. But how should government do it so it does not crowd out private participation?
Private owners have concerns. Government should listen to their concerns and see whether it can address these concerns. If we cannot address the concerns, you should do socio-economic transport interventions, whereby government will import so many buses, assign them to communities, and then be managed by the communities or the transport hub. So that people in the community moving to ministry can have one line, as they were using train and trams were doing in the advanced countries. Mm-hmm. So one line for ministry, one line for Dabraka, one line from here, one line from here. Then we use buses that are going to all these dedicated areas. And then the people there should be make ownership of the buses, and then sell it to they have a transport hub that will manage all these buses. When they do that, the people from that area, it will reduce people queuing for buses and all that because they know this bus belongs to us. So government should come into invest into it and import more buses because it has now become a necessity.
Right, and that's my second and final question. Your last point about investing. Government must invest in getting buses. So two things come to mind. We have heard in time past that this current administration is suggesting, for instance, that they would want to procure buses. Private citizens can come and take these buses on hire purchase and use it as a means of public transport. So that is government and private sector working together. How feasible is this strategy as against what we are seeing with Ayalolo and Metromars, where it is government that brings the buses and is a player in the transport sector?
You know what? That system has been done in Ghana for years past. Government was providing buses and transport vehicles to unions for them to their members to come and buy on high purchases. Most of them were not able to pay. So if government is going to do that, then the down purchase, the deposit for the bus should be very, very minimal, and they give long time for them to pay off the buses, not the 5 years and not the 10 years, 2 or 3 years, so that people who are handling the buses will be comfortable to pay and to get make their earnings met.
Okay.
So that it can be done well. That is the way it should go. But else, I am thinking government should go in and subsidize for workers. Government should go in because our salary levels are low in the whole country.
Okay.
So government should buy buses and subsidize.
Okay.
Bring it, how do you call it? Permission to workplaces. Like Kufo did for the school children. They can board any metro bus transport for free. The pregnant women can board the buses for free. These are some of the social interventions that can reduce the hardship of the transport system we are currently facing.
Thank you so much for your time this evening, Dr. Godfred Achiadakwa. Pleasure talking to you. He is a road safety and transport expert. So your thoughts are also very welcome. Are you a commuter? Have you had any challenges, in terms of moving from one area to another? Do let us know. We are streaming this bulletin on Facebook and also on YouTube. So your comments are very welcome. Let's get an understanding of what your experience has been, and the rest of the world will get to know about it. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition, and it is live from our studio here at Adisanwe Kanda in Accra. On to our next big story. And a few hours ago, we got a communication from the Office of the President, and it says President John Mahama has constituted a presidential advisory group on the economy to provide strategic guidance on Ghana's economic recovery and long-term growth. The group is expected to support macroeconomic stability, fiscal sustainability, and job creation under the government's broader reset agenda. It will also play a key role in shaping flagship interventions such as the 24-hour economy and the accelerated export development program. In a statement issued by the presidency on Thursday, the 15th of January, and signed by Government Communications Minister Felix Kwachiofosu, the government said that the move reflects President John Mahama's resolve to tap into deep national and international expertise to navigate current economic challenges. So I'll quickly go through the list of the individuals, and then I'll pick the thoughts of Franklin Kujo, who is the executive director of think tank Imani Africa. So the list starts with Her Excellency Professor Nana Opekwa-Gyimah, who is the Vice President. We also have Ishmael Yamson, who is a private sector leader and former member of PAGE. So if I say PAGE, it is Presidential Advisory Group on the Economy, PAGE, right? So Ishmael Yamson is a private sector leader and a former member of PAGE. Kwame Pienim, renowned economist and private sector leader, a former member of PAGE. Ms. Nana Oye Mansa Yeboah, who is a former Deputy Minister of Finance and also Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, former member of PAGE. Dr. Kwabena Dufour, economist, former governor of the Bank of Ghana and former Minister for Finance. Samuel Ison Jonah, who many of you know him as Sir Sam Jonah. He is a private sector leader and an industrialist, Mr. Atto Brown, former World Bank infrastructure specialist, agribusiness investor, Dr. Henry Kofi Wampa, former governor of the Bank of Ghana, Togbi Afede, who is an economist and private sector leader, Ms. Abena Amwa, Chief Executive Officer, Ghana Stock Exchange, Professor Priscilla Chumesi Bafo, University Professor and Academic Researcher, and then Professor Patience Asewe Abo, who is a PhD, who is a University Professor and Academic Researcher. So these are the individuals making up the list of PAGE, who are the Presidential Advisory Group on the Economy. I'm tempted to say Dr. Franklin Kujo. Franklin Kujo, a very happy new year to you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Oh, good evening. How are you, my brother?
Very well, thank you. What would your immediate thoughts be on the idea itself of government saying that they put a list of individuals together to advise the government on the economy?
Why your line is very, very faint. If I heard your question, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Is it better now?
No, it's better. It's better now.
Okay,
so could you please repeat your question?
Yeah, so I was asking your immediate thoughts on the Presidential Advisory Group on the Economy, shortened as PAGE, and their relevance to the current administration.
Well, somehow I see this group as some circle of influence where, like a sounding board, really, that the president will bounce off ideas of them, essentially how the economy is going, what they think should be done, those kinds of conversations. And I think these persons who have been selected have quite the pedigree to be able to offer, because they've really been in Ghana, they've seen how the economy of Ghana has been handled over the last several decades. Then, of course, they also have some of them also have international experience, and so I guess it's I can say that it's a comfortable, good sounding board for now. I think I like to call it a sounding board, and it's a good one.
Right, and we also do know, like you indicated, these are individuals. Some of them we know. We've seen the work they've done in their individual capacities. But if for the last year, the current administration, without these group of individuals, has been able to stabilize or is seeming to stabilize the economy and things are working in the right direction, would you still need, or would you advise the government to have an advisory board like this? You think is relevant?
It's always good to have, like they say, two heads are better than one. And I think the president is trying to be very, the word I want to use, I think the president is trying to be very consultative, right? That's the word. And so wants to, as much as possible, those who he believes are very knowledgeable and are able to offer advice, why not? So for me, it's not really a question of, it's not a question about the fact that we've taken off already, but even as we've taken off, it is also important to have a conversation about how to be guided. Sometimes when you take off, there are no guardrails, and then you start going wayward. So it's important somebody needs to rein you in. And it looks to me that the president feels that this committee would have the requisite expertise to not just rein in, but actually offer good advice. So, as I said, it's a sounding board, and so I think it's a good how to call it,
move.
It's a good committee, right? But you see, there's well, the other thing I wanted to say about I think the group really, the committee, could have also benefited from people who were, at this stage where we are, we want to open many doors, right? We want, how do I call it? They are globally renowned Ghanaians as well. I mean, I felt that maybe one or two of them could have been part of the board. But you see, sometimes when the going gets tough, you need people who can actually go knock doors, open doors, and talk to people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And the last of Bernard Mensah, the former Bank of America guy. I mean, there's an Aquaba guy. I don't mean our Patrick Ewa. I mean, but anyway, this is the president's list, and I think it's a good list. I am just suggesting that maybe an additional Ghanaian expert who has actually seen the world, because look, look at the problems the NPP went through. If the NPP had anyone who was probably more knowledgeable in debt management, and probably if they listened to the person, I'm sure they'll never have they'll never have really messed up the way they messed up. Of course, the NPP's own committees of whatever. What did the NPP set up? The economic management team?
Yes.
Yeah, I had a few people there, like my good friend, what's his name? Professor, the Canadian, the guy who's, what's his name? He was a secretary to the committee.
Okay.
Renowned economist, very respectable. Beyond that, I really did not see anybody who could open doors, who they could say, okay, this guy's an expert in debt management. Because they were at sea, really, and they messed up badly. So if I were organizing such a committee, I'd rather take a good look at and then probably throw in a Bernard Mensah, or throw in a Peter Kwabwa, or even Patrick Owa. I mean, I would have done that.
Okay. And maybe in wrapping up this conversation, like you mentioned, the previous administration, almost every government sets up these kinds of bodies or groups or committees to be advisors to the president. We've seen similar in time past. There are those who are already poking fun at this group, saying that, oh, it is just for the government trying to find job for them to also get something into their pockets. But there is the other side of the argument. If they set it up and it is just advisory, the president is not bound by what they advise or what they say. So is it relevant in the first place, or you can just fall on them as and when there is a challenge ahead, and then you look for people like you're advising, people with international expertise. You call them to say, as a country, we want to go this way. What do you think? Then they tap into their knowledge. Wouldn't that also be an alternative?
Well, first of all, these persons are no pushovers. And by the way, they are not hungry. If you look at the list carefully, these are people who have achieved quite a lot. And some of them can actually walk. They don't have to. You don't talk over them. They will walk within the chest of a lamb still. So these persons are very huge, mighty people. But you see, it is also important. The question you ask is, so what is it? Is it just another committee? Well, I suspect if this committee would be taken for their good works and probably separate from the other committees that we've had in the past, I think what we should expect of the committee is to maybe they should publish probably quarterly reports about the state of the economy. You know, we can have a conversation. They can have a conversation with Ghanaians from all over the country, and then publish also the state, and then the advice they give the president on a number of things. You see, if they don't do that, look, it will be difficult for us to know what they did. You understand? So I don't think that the best way to make this committee relevant is to not just offer advice, probably would offer good advice, but we never hear about it, right? So they should give us quarterly reports about their viewpoints as to how the economy, the trajectory of the economy, and essentially the advice that they gave the presidents on a number of issues. And I think that would have probably served them well. You know what I mean. So that would be the distinguishing factor. Otherwise, people will say, okay, they didn't publish any report. We didn't say anything. You understand?
Okay. Mr. Cudjoe, thank you so much, and pleasure talking to you as always.
It's a pleasure here, so thank you.
Right, and that is Franklin Cudjoe, who is the president, in fact, the executive director of think tank Imani Africa. Thank you so much for making time to speak with us this evening. This is still Hot Edition on 92.7. Look, for many of you who are yet to see who these individuals are, if you go to our Facebook stream, you would see them. You'd see them there, the individuals who make up the page, Presidential Advisory Group on the Economy. They are about 12 in number. They are there. You can see them. For those who do not know how they look like, you can also get to see their bio and the kind of expertise they bring on board. You have Sir Sam Jonah. In fact, he's the only Ghanaian, or the first Ghanaian to be knighted by Queen Elizabeth. So that's why his name is Sir Sam Jonah. He's a private sector leader and industrialist. And like you heard Franklin Cudjoe say, he is an international investor who is also a private businessman and has some global links. So if the government needs some doors opened, his expertise can always be, available to the Republic. Again, you have Dr. Henry Kofi Wampa, former governor of the Bank of Ghana. You have Togbe Apede, who many of you would know that he's not just, the executive director or owner of Accra Hearts of Oak. He's also a very heavy businessman and even has an airline. So he's someone who's well vexed when it comes to the private sector and investment and economics when it comes to Ghana. Then there is Dr. Kwabena Dufour. He's an economist, former governor of the Bank of Ghana and former minister for finance. Nana Oye Mansa Yeboah, former deputy minister of finance, deputy minister for trade and industry, and a former member of this presidential advisory group on the economy. We have Ishmael Yamson, and the name that many journalists or economists would remember easily is Kwame Piening, who is a very known individual when it comes to issues of the economy, not just Ghana, but Africa and globally. He has worked in a number of international companies and has served in many, many capacities as, an economic advisor and economist in terms of his knowledge and experience. So he brings a lot on board. So these individuals we are looking at are people who are heavyweights in their own right. And it is important to put across that the expertise they bring on board will be available to the government, who is trying to reset the entirety of the country across sectors. And these people also have experience across sectors. So it is instructive to appreciate their expertise and see how the government can take advantage of this expertise in helping rebuild and reset Ghana as we all observe things roll out right before our eyes. You're listening to 3FM 92.7. Let's turn our attention to the controversial education issue of whether or not LGBT is being sneaked into our learning materials for our students. And the Minister for Education has waded into it. That is Haruna Idrisu. Now, he has directed NACA, which is the board that is in charge of curriculum, the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, NACA. He has directed NACA to ensure there is no ambiguity in the biological definition of the word gender in the education curriculum. Speaking during a brief stopover at a teachers training workshop at the Ghana Senior High School in Tamale, the minister tasked NACA to ensure that the definition of biological sex or gender has no ambiguity. Let's listen to him now.
There should be no ambiguity whatsoever regarding the definition of a man as in a man, a woman as in a woman, as in biological sex. And sex means biological sex. Reference to man, woman, sex means reference to the biological sex and the sex of a person at birth. Settled. So in every educational literature in Ghana must reflect same. So there should be no ambiguity whatsoever in the definition of a man, a woman, and sex. For our purposes, the sex of a person at birth holds. That depicts and reflects Ghanaian values and our norms. And that is how we want to bring up all Ghanaian learners. So I thought that I should use your forum to respond appropriately to biological sex. So forward, every publication of the Ministry of Education and the GS, and to all heads of institutions involved in the educational space, must respect this natural definition of sex and natural definition of a man and a woman, nothing more.
Right, so that's Education Minister Haruna Idrisu there. Well, the minority has quickly run to the media, and the caucus in Parliament demanded an immediate dismissal of the Director General and Board Chairman of the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, which is NACA, over the gender identity content in a senior high school teacher manual, accusing them of oversight failure. Vincent Ekosifua says the withdrawal of the new bill from Parliament after it was first advertised is telling, but he is not speaking out of nothing. They want a withdrawal of all teaching and learning materials containing such content to pave way for a bipartisan inquiry. And they've been addressing the media. Let's listen to him.
We on the side of the minority demand that there is an immediate withdrawal of all teaching and learning materials containing LGBTQ related content, including redefined concept of sex, sexuality, sexual orientation, sexual rights, and gender identity from all schools. You remember when NACA brought their statement, as it were, to respond to Reverend Mitimfodjo, they made mention of the fact that the current manual has been withdrawn from the schools. And Dr. Apak also made Ghanaians also know that even though it has been withdrawn, he referred us to an online version of the manual. In that online version, it is even worse. The definitions of what sex, sexuality, and others are is even worse in that online version. The minority is also demanding a transparent and inclusive review of all affected teaching and learning materials involving Parliament, religious bodies, traditional authority, parents, civil society organizations, education experts, and teacher unions. 3. The dismissal of the Director General of NACA and the Chairperson of NACA Board for failure of oversight and breach of public trust. We say so because NACA is now telling us, assuming without admitting, that the document was developed by the NPP government in 2024. If you don't believe in it, why then do you go ahead to go and even print them in 2025? That is causing financial loss to the state, because these are teacher manuals that you have printed and distributed across the country.
And you heard Vincent Ekosifua, who spoke on behalf of the minority, who are demanding the immediate dismissal of the Director General and Board Chairman of the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, NACA. Well, your thoughts are always very welcome on some of these very interesting and topical national issues. We are always happy to hear from you, but it is time now for the latest in the world of business.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up tonight, CD Outlook turns neutral in 2026 as Black Star Group projects 9 to 11% depreciation despite strong external buffers. I am Bismarck Kausad. This story and others lined up for you. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. The CD, after recording an unprecedented appreciation of about 32% against the US dollar in 2025, is expected to lose some of those gains in 2026, though within what analysts describe as a controlled and historically manageable range. According to Black Star Group's 2026 economic outlook, the local currency is projected to depreciate by between 9 and 11%, ending next year at around 12 cedis 60 pesos to 12 cedis 80 pesos to the dollar. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report. The local currency is expected to moderate in 2026 after its exceptional performance in 2025, when it recorded its first annual appreciation in more than 3 decades. Black Star Group, in its 2026 economic outlook titled The Growth Pivot, projects that the currency will depreciate by 9 to 11% this year, with the exchange rate closing between 12 cedis 60 pesos and 12 cedis 80 pesos to the US dollar. The group describes this expected slowdown as a return to structural normalization rather than renewed weakness, noting that strong external buffers, particularly gold export receipts, should help limit volatility even as domestic demand and imports rise. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Esiama, has cautioned that the recent gains should not be seen as permanent, stressing that exchange rate stability must be supported by productivity, competitiveness, and fiscal discipline across the economy. Between 1994 and 2024, the cedi lost value every year, but the sharp turnaround in 2025, driven by improved external balances and tighter macroeconomic conditions, has reshaped confidence in the local currency, even as authorities warn against complacency. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Moving on, a financial economist, Dr. Eric Boakye-Yadom, is calling for a second look at Ghana's official inflation figures, describing the rate of depreciation or disinflation reported by the Ghana Statistical Service as too optimistic and inconsistent with prevailing market realities. Speaking on Ghana's declining inflation trend as of December 2025, Dr. Yadom acknowledged that there are signs of price stability in the economy, but cautioned that the current trend does not justify expectations of negative inflation by June this year, as the official data appears to suggest.
Yes, generally there is some form of price stability that the market is reporting, but the rate of the disinflationary reported by the GSS, I think it is on a high side, and probably they may have to take a second look at it. And if the trend we have experienced last year continued this year, by June we should be reporting negative inflation, and I'm not sure that is what the market conditions are pointing to for us to start recording negative inflation. So generally, yes, there's some effort to achieve price stability, but the rate or the numbers that are being churned out, the GSS may have to take a second look at it.
And that was financial analyst or economist Dr. Eric Boakye-Yadom. On Tuesday, January 27, 2026, as the largest bulk carrier ever to call at a port in West Africa, the MV-CBS Years arrives at the port of Takoradi. The historic vessel, with a massive carrying capacity of 300,000 deadweight tons, will be formally welcomed at an inauguration ceremony jointly organized by the Ghana Manganese Company, Cosco Shipping Lines, and the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA. And that brings us to the end of Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more stories, please check out our website 3news.com. Thanks for your company.